The Deep Space Monitoring Station hung like a silver snowflake against the black void, its crystalline surfaces catching and reflecting the light of distant stars. Inside the central control room, Station Commander Ray watched the holographic displays with tired eyes. This far out in the Orion Arm, nothing interesting ever happened. The Crystalline Alliance had maintained peace in this sector for over 300 years. That peace was about to be shattered. A red warning light pulsed across the main screen, accompanied by a soft but insistent alarm. Ray's four-fingered hand moved quickly across the control panel, bringing up the sensor readings. At first, he thought it was a malfunction. The energy signature was unlike anything recorded in the Alliance database. Control. This is Analysis Section. We're picking up an unknown vessel entering restricted space, reported Officer Ben through the comm system. His voice carried an edge of excitement that Ray hadn't heard in years. "Show me," Ray commanded, and the main screen filled with a visual of the intruding ship. His breath caught in his throat. The vessel was massive, easily twice the size of the Alliance's largest battlecruiser. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, with red striping along its sides. But it was the design that made Ray's crystal-based heart structure pulse faster. It was completely alien to anything the Alliance had ever encountered. "Run a full spectrum analysis," Ray ordered, his fingers dancing across the controls. The results made no sense. The ship's hull was made of materials that shouldn't exist together. Its power readings suggested energy production that violated several laws of physics the Alliance held sacred. "Sir," Ben's voice cracked slightly. "We've identified the origin. It's human." Ray felt his crystalline body temperature drop several degrees. Humans. Impossible. The Alliance had been watching Earth for centuries. The humans were still using primitive chemical rockets and hadn't even colonized their own moon properly. They were considered at least 200 years away from developing faster-than-light travel. Yet there it was, a human battleship, sitting in Alliance space like a predator waiting to pounce. "Additional scans complete, sir," Ben reported. "The vessel appears to be heavily armed, but all weapon systems are in standby mode. They're making no attempt to hide their presence. In fact," he paused, double-checking his readings, "they're broadcasting their identity on all common frequencies." Ray expanded the sensor display. The ship's energy signature was incredible. Its reactor wasn't just powerful, it was stable in ways that Alliance scientists had theorized but never achieved. The weapon systems were equally impressive, including several that the sensors couldn't even identify. "Sir, we're detecting multiple layers of shielding," another analyst called out. "Some appear to be operating in quantum states. That's supposed to be theoretical." The humans had not only mastered faster-than-light travel, they had developed technology that the Alliance had only dreamed of. And they had done it in complete secrecy. Ray felt a chill run through his crystalline form as he realized the implications. How long had they been watching? How many other human ships were out there, hidden from Alliance sensors? "Commander," Ben interrupted his thoughts. "They're requesting communication." Ray straightened his posture, his crystalline form catching the light. This would go down in Alliance history, one way or another. "Put them through on the main screen," he ordered. The screen flickered, and Ray found himself looking at a human in a dark uniform adorned with gold markings. The human's face was weathered but carried an expression of calm authority. "This is Admiral Marcus of the Earth vessel Thunder of Terra." The human spoke in perfect Alliance standard language. "We come in peace, but with urgent news. Your civilization is in danger, Commander. We're here to help." Ray stared at the screen, his mind racing. In the space of a few minutes, everything he thought he knew about humanity had been proven wrong. They weren't primitive. They weren't isolated. They were advanced, prepared, and apparently had been watching the Alliance long enough to learn their language perfectly. The question was, why reveal themselves now? What danger could be so great that it would make humanity step out of the shadows? As Ray prepared to respond, He couldn't shake the feeling that his quiet assignment was about to become the center of a galactic storm. The emergency council chamber of the Crystalline Alliance buzzed with nervous energy. 12 council members sat around a circular table, their crystalline forms reflecting the soft blue light from above. The room had not been used for an emergency session in over 50 years, but the appearance of the human battleship had changed everything. High Council Leader Roy stood at the head of the table, his usually calm voice tight with concern. The humans have been watching us. All this time, they've been watching. He gestured to the holographic display, showing the thunder of Terra hanging in space near their monitoring station. Intelligence Officer Kate, known for her careful analysis, stepped forward. Her smaller crystal form shimmered as she moved to the center of the room. We've decoded more of their transmissions. The humans haven't just been observing us. They'd been studying every species in this sector of space for decades. Their ship's database contains detailed files on all our technologies, defense systems, and even our social structures. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. One council member's crystal form actually cracked slightly from stress, a rare show of emotion. "How did we miss this?" demanded Council Member Pete, his voice sharp with anger. "We had monitoring stations near Earth. We saw their primitive rockets, their clumsy space stations." Kate's response was calm but carried weight. "It seems, Honored Council, that is exactly what they wanted us to see." The humans maintained a careful facade. Those rockets and space stations, they were real, but they were just for show. Behind that cover, they were building something far more advanced. The main screen lit up with images from the thunder of Terra's exterior scans. Kate pointed to specific sections of the massive ship. "Their hull contains materials we thought impossible to combine. Their power core uses principles our scientists only theorized about. And their weapons," she paused, letting the implications sink in. "Some of them operate on principles we don't even understand yet." Admiral Marcus's face appeared on a second screen, his transmission from the previous hour playing again. "We come as friends," his recorded image said, "but we also come with a warning. There are threats moving through this galaxy that none of our civilizations can face alone." The council watched in silence as Marcus explained how humanity had detected these threats years ago. They had spent decades preparing, building their forces in secret, knowing they would eventually need allies. "Show them the language analysis," Roy ordered. Kate nodded and brought up new data. "The humans are speaking our language perfectly, not just Standard Alliance, but all 12 of our major dialects. They've been listening to our communications for years, learning everything about us. But there's more." She highlighted several sections of text. "They're also fluent in the languages of at least 30 other spacefaring species." The council chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just been watching the Alliance. They had been preparing to interact with every advanced civilization they could find. A new transmission cut through the tense atmosphere. Admiral Marcus was requesting to dock with the Alliance's central station. The council members looked at each other, uncertainty clear in their crystalline faces. "We should destroy them now," Pete suggested, his form pulsing with agitation, "while we still can, and risk war with a civilization that has clearly surpassed us technologically." Kate countered, "A civilization that chose to reveal themselves peacefully despite having the power to do otherwise." Roy raised his hand for silence. On the main screen, the thunder of Terra remained in position, its massive form a reminder of how quickly the galaxy's power balance had shifted. They had all seen the scans. The human ship could have easily breached their defenses. Instead, it waited patiently for permission to dock. "We will meet them," Roy decided finally. "But first, I want to know everything about their ship's capabilities. Everything they're willing to share, and everything our scans can tell us." As the council prepared for humanity's official first contact, Kate reviewed more of the decoded transmissions. Something in the humans' urgency worried her. They had hidden their true nature for so long, building their forces in secret. What could be so threatening that it would make such a careful species finally reveal themselves? The answer, she suspected, would change the galaxy forever. The Alliance's top scientist Tom stood in the observation room, his crystalline form reflecting multiple colors as he studied the detailed scans of the Thunder of Terra. The human battleship had allowed them to conduct deep scans of its systems, revealing technology that made Tom's analytical mind spin with possibilities. "These readings can't be right," he muttered, adjusting the scanning equipment again. The results remained the same. The human ship's weapons weren't just advanced. They broke several laws of physics that the Alliance had thought unchangeable. A soft chime announced Admiral Marcus's arrival. The human commander walked into the observation room with measured steps, his dark uniform a stark contrast to the crystalline walls. 2 Alliance guards followed him, their forms tense despite the Admiral's relaxed demeanor. "Your quantum-based weapons," Tom said, not bothering with formal greetings. "They're impossible. The energy requirements alone should tear the ship apart." Marcus smiled slightly. "We thought the same thing about 80 years ago. Then we discovered that the laws of physics aren't as rigid as everyone believed. They're more like guidelines that can be bent if you know how." Tom's crystalline form pulsed with excitement and frustration. But why hide all this? Why pretend to be primitive for so long? The Admiral's face grew serious. He walked to the observation window, looking out at his ship. "Because we needed time. Time to prepare, time to build our defenses. What's coming from the Galactic Core doesn't care about physics or rules or diplomacy." He pressed a small device on his wrist, and a hologram appeared between them. It showed strange energy patterns moving through space, patterns that made Tom's scientific sensors ache just looking at them. "We first detected them 30 years ago," Marcus continued. "Ancient ruins on a dead world at the edge of our space told us what they were. The same ruins can be found in this sector, but your people classified them as religious artifacts. They're not. They're warnings." Tom accessed the Alliance database, pulling up images of the ruins Marcus mentioned. The strange symbols and diagrams that archaeologists had dismissed as primitive art suddenly took on new meaning. They weren't abstract designs. They were technical schematics. "The entities in the core," Tom said slowly, his voice barely a whisper. "They've been here before." Marcus nodded grimly. "Multiple times, over millions of years. They emerge from the core, consume everything in their path, then retreat. The ruins were left by species that fought them and lost, but they left behind information, if you know how to read it." The observation room's door opened again, and Intelligence Officer Kate entered, carrying new data readings. Her crystal form dimmed slightly at the tense atmosphere. "The deep space sensors," she reported, her voice tight. "They're picking up something at the edge of their range near the core. Energy patterns unlike anything we've seen before." She looked at Marcus. "Except they match exactly what you warned us about." The Admiral's expression didn't change. "They're early. Our calculations gave us another 5 years at least." He turned to Tom. "Those quantum weapons you were asking about, they're not meant for your people or any other living species. They're designed to fight things that don't entirely exist in our reality." Tom studied the new sensor readings, his scientific mind racing. The energy patterns from the core seemed to fade in and out of normal space, following rules that defied conventional physics. The human weapons suddenly made more sense. They weren't breaking the laws of physics. They were operating on a completely different set of laws. "How many ships do you have?" Kate asked, her crystal form pulsing with concern. "Enough," Marcus replied. "But we'll need help. Your crystal-based technology has properties we haven't mastered. If we combine our knowledge..." He let the sentence hang. Tom looked at the ruins diagrams again, seeing them with new understanding. The ancient warnings spoke of darkness coming from the core, of creatures that consumed light and life itself. But they also spoke of resistance, of battles fought and lost. "We'll need to start immediately," Tom said, his scientific excitement overcoming his caution. If we can integrate your quantum technology with our crystal matrices. A new alarm cut through the room. Kate rushed to the sensor display, her form flickering with shock. Multiple anomalies detected, she reported. The energy patterns, they're accelerating toward populated space. Marcus's face hardened. Then we've run out of time for discussions. The question is simple. Will your people fight with us, or do we stand alone? Tom and Kate exchanged looks. The future of their entire civilization might depend on their next words. The Alliance Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Faction leader James slammed his crystalline fist on the table, sending shimmering cracks across its surface. The humans are lying, he shouted, his form pulsing with angry red light. This is clearly a trick to make us lower our defenses. Security Chief Alex stood calmly on the other side of the chamber, her blue-tinted crystal form steady and controlled. The evidence suggests otherwise, she said, bringing up holographic displays of the sensor data. Everything they've told us matches our own readings. The threat from the core is real. The chamber was divided, literally and figuratively. On one side stood those who believed the humans, their crystal forms glowing with steady blue and green lights. On the other, those who distrusted humanity's sudden appearance, their forms flickering with suspicious reds and oranges. Real or not, James continued, why should we trust them? They've been lying to us for decades, pretending to be primitive while building weapons that could destroy us all. A sudden alarm interrupted the debate. The main screen lit up with urgent data from the monitoring station. A massive meteor shower was heading toward one of the Alliance's outer colonies, having appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Impact in 10 minutes, an operator announced. Our defense systems need at least 15 minutes to power up fully. Before anyone could react, the thunder of Terra moved. The human battleship accelerated with impossible speed, placing itself between the colony and the incoming meteors. Its quantum shields flared to life, creating patterns in space that hurt the crystalline eyes trying to watch them. The chamber fell silent as they watched the human ship's defensive display. Energy beams that seemed to bend reality itself shot from the vessel, breaking the largest meteors into harmless dust. Smaller projectiles bounced off the quantum shields, their kinetic energy absorbed and redirected into space. In less than 3 minutes, the threat was neutralized. The thunder of Terra hadn't just saved the colony. It had done so with a level of technological precision that left even the doubters speechless. Admiral Marcus's voice came through the chamber's communication system. We detected the meteor shower 20 minutes ago, he explained. We could have warned you earlier, but we thought a demonstration might be more convincing. James's crystal form dimmed slightly, his earlier confidence shaken. You risked our colony's safety to make a point. No, Alex interrupted, studying the sensor readings. Look at the meteor patterns. They weren't natural. She highlighted several trajectories on the main display. These were deliberately aimed at the colony. Someone, or something, is testing our defenses. Tom, who had been quietly analyzing data in the corner, stepped forward. The energy signatures match what we're detecting from the core, he reported. This was a probe, a test to see how we would react. And now they know about our quantum defense capabilities, Marcus added, which means they'll adapt. The next attack will be different. The council chamber erupted in worried discussions. The reality of the situation was finally sinking in. This wasn't just about trusting the humans anymore. It was about survival. Alex brought up new tactical displays. The humans' technology isn't just advanced, she explained. It's specifically designed to fight these entities. Look at their shield harmonics, their weapon frequencies. Everything about their ships is built to counter threats that shouldn't exist in normal space. But can we trust them? James asked, his voice now more uncertain than angry. Even if they're telling the truth about the threat, they've still been deceiving us for years. Perhaps, Alex replied, we should ask ourselves why a civilization advanced enough to destroy us chose to reveal themselves peacefully instead. She turned to face the council. They don't need our permission to fight this threat. They don't need our help, but they're asking for it anyway. A new alert flashed across the screens. More anomalies were appearing at the edge of their space. The entities from the core were moving faster than anyone had predicted. Admiral Marcus's voice came through again, calm but urgent. We need to make a decision soon. Those meteors were just the beginning. The real storm is coming, and we need to be ready when it hits. The council members looked at each other, their crystal forms reflecting the weight of the choice before them. Trust the humans who had hidden among them, or face the darkness alone. Time was running out, and the fate of their civilization hung in the balance. The long-range sensor room of the Alliance's main station had become unusually crowded. Crystal beings of various sizes and colors gathered around the central display, watching as waves of strange energy readings poured in from the galactic core. The patterns twisted and shifted in ways that made their crystalline sensors ache. Another surge, Tom announced, his scientific excitement barely contained. 50% stronger than the last one. He adjusted the sensors, trying to get clearer readings of the approaching anomalies. Admiral Marcus stood quietly in the corner, watching the Alliance members react to what humans had known was coming for decades. His weathered face showed no surprise at the readings, only grim determination. It's exactly as you predicted, Kate said, turning to Marcus. The energy patterns match your data perfectly. Why didn't we see this coming? Because you weren't looking for it, Marcus replied. These entities exist partially outside normal space. Unless you know exactly what to look for, they're almost impossible to detect. He pressed a button on his wrist device, and a new hologram appeared in the center of the room. The hologram showed hundreds of ships, each bearing the same dark hull and red striping as the Thunder of Terra. They emerged from what looked like tears in space itself. Dimensional pocket space, Marcus had called it. The human fleet had been hiding in these artificial folds in reality, preparing and waiting. By the first crystal, someone whispered. The Alliance members stared in shock at the size of the human fleet. They had thought the Thunder of Terra was an impressive display of human technology. Now they realized it had been just the tip of a very large iceberg. An alarm blared through the station. The main screen showed ancient defense systems, buried deep in planets across the sector, beginning to activate. These were the same ruins that had warned of the entities, now coming to life after millions of years of silence. They sense what's coming, Marcus explained. These defense systems were built by those who fought the entities before. They failed, but they left these warnings, these tools, for future generations. He walked to the main display, pointing to specific energy patterns. We found similar systems in our sector. It took us decades to understand them, to learn how to build our own versions. Tom's crystal form pulsed with sudden understanding. Your quantum weapons, they're based on this ancient technology. Marcus nodded. Improved upon. But yes, the basic principles came from ruins like these. That's why we had to keep our development secret. If the entities had detected our weapons before we were ready. A new surge of energy from the core interrupted him. This one was different. Stronger, more focused. The ancient defense systems responded with pulses of their own, creating a complex web of energy across the sector. They're coming faster than we expected, Marcus said, his voice tight with concern. We need to make a decision now. Either we work together, or... He let the sentence hang unfinished. The station's commander, Roy, stepped forward. His crystal form had taken on a deeper, more determined blue. The Council has voted, he announced. We will join forces with humanity. Marcus's relief was visible but brief. He activated his communication device, speaking to his fleet. All ships, execute Operation Daybreak. Begin emergence sequence. The space around the station came alive with activity. Dozens of tiers in reality opened as human ships emerged from their dimensional hiding places. Each vessel was unique in its design, but shared the same dark hull and advanced technology as the Thunder of Terra. The entities will detect this, Kate warned, watching the sensors. They'll know we're preparing for them. Good, Marcus replied. Let them come. We've been ready for them for a long time. He turned to the Alliance members. Your crystal technology can enhance our quantum shields. Together, we might have a chance of doing what the ancients couldn't, stopping these things permanently. The station shuddered as another wave of energy washed over it from the core. The ancient defense systems pulsed brighter in response, their warnings now unmistakable. Whatever was coming, it would arrive soon. Around the station, human ships moved into defensive positions, their quantum shields creating patterns of light that defied normal space. The Alliance's crystalline vessels joined them, their own unique technology complementing the human defenses. The time for doubt and discussion was over. The storm was approaching, and it would take everything both civilizations had to survive it. A massive holographic display filled the center of the thunder of Terra's bridge, showing hundreds of ships moving in perfect formation. Human vessels with their dark hulls and quantum shields flew alongside the crystalline ships of the Alliance, their combined fleet creating a defensive line across the sector. Technology Officer Mike stood at his station, his fingers moving quickly across the control panels as he worked to integrate the Alliance's crystal-based systems with human quantum technology. The crystal resonance is amplifying our shield strength by 30%, he reported, looking up at Admiral Marcus. It's working better than we hoped. The Admiral nodded, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The entities from the core had been detected at the edge of their sensor range, moving through space in ways that defied normal physics. Their forms seemed to shift and change, sometimes solid, sometimes barely visible. All ships report ready, Kate announced from her temporary position on the bridge. The Alliance had sent their best officers to serve on human ships, learning their technology and sharing their own knowledge. The crystal matrices are fully charged. A deep rumble shook the ship as another wave of energy washed over them from the core. The ancient defense systems, now fully awakened, pulsed in response. Their warnings were clearer now, stronger, as if they sensed the approaching battle. Launch the probe drones, Marcus ordered. Dozens of small, unmanned vessels shot forward from the fleet, their sensors designed to gather data about the entities. The knowledge gained from the ancient ruins had taught them what to look for, but seeing these things in action would be different. The bridge crew watched as the drones approached the anomalies. The first drone disappeared in a flash of impossible light, torn apart by forces that shouldn't exist in normal space. The second drone lasted longer, managing to transmit data back to the fleet before it too was destroyed. Analysis coming in, Mike called out, his voice tight with concentration. The entities, they're not just moving through space. They're changing it, warping reality around themselves. The tactical display updated, showing the true nature of what they faced. The entities weren't ships or creatures in any conventional sense. They were more like tears in the fabric of space itself, leaking energy from something beyond normal reality. Shield modifications complete, Kate reported. The crystal technology of the Alliance had been successfully merged with human quantum defenses, creating a new kind of protection that could bend and flex with the distortions in space. A sudden alarm blared through the ship. Multiple contacts. Mike shouted. They're accelerating toward the fleet. The first entity emerged fully into normal space, its form finally visible to the naked eye. Through the bridge viewport, they could see what looked like a hole in reality itself, darkness pouring out like liquid night. Energy beams that defied the laws of physics shot from the entity, aimed at the fleet's defensive line. All ships, execute pattern Delta, Marcus commanded. The fleet moved as one, human and Alliance vessels, working in perfect coordination. Quantum shields flared to life, now enhanced by crystal technology, creating layers of protection that could adapt to the reality warping attacks. The thunder of Terra shuddered as the first wave of energy struck their shields. The quantum crystal barrier held, bending but not breaking under the impossible assault. Around them, other ships reported similar success. The combined technology was working. Return fire, Marcus ordered. All ships target the primary entity with quantum lance weapons. Beams of energy that seem to exist in multiple dimensions at once shot from the human ships, while Alliance vessels added their own crystal-based weapons to the barrage. The entity's form wavered under the assault, its reality warping field disrupted by the combined attack. "It's working," Mike exclaimed, watching the sensor readings. "The quantum crystal combination is actually hurting them." But before they could celebrate this small victory, more entities began to emerge from the darkness. Dozens of reality tiers opened around the fleet, each one bringing a new horror from beyond normal space. "All ships, hold the line," Marcus commanded, his voice steady despite the growing threat. "This is what we've prepared for. This is why we built this fleet." The bridge crew, human and crystal alike, worked their stations with determined focus. The true test was about to begin, and everything they'd prepared for over decades would be put to the ultimate trial. Through the viewport, space itself seemed to twist and bend as the entities approached. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. Space itself screamed as the entities launched their first full assault. Reality warping beams tore through the void, aimed at the combined human and Alliance fleet. The thunder of Terra led the defense, its enhanced quantum crystal shields glowing with impossible colors as they deflected the attacks. Multiple breaches detected in Sector 7. Mike shouted over the sound of straining engines. The bridge shook as another wave of entity weapons struck their shields. 3 Alliance ships are reporting critical damage. Admiral Marcus stood calm at the center of the chaos, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays. "Deploy the Thunder Squadrons," he ordered. "Show them why we named our ships after storms." From the hangars of every human battleship, smaller craft emerged. Unlike traditional fighters, these vessels were designed specifically for reality-warping combat. They moved in ways that shouldn't be possible, leaving trails of quantum distortion in their wake. "Thunder Squadron engaging," Kate reported from her station, her crystal form pulsing with excitement. "The entities aren't prepared for small-scale quantum drives. They can't track our fighters." The smaller ships darted between the massive reality tiers that were the entities, their quantum weapons disrupting the very fabric of space the creatures used to manifest. Alliance crystal ships followed in their wake, their technology amplifying the quantum effects to devastating levels. An entity larger than the others emerged from the darkness, its form twisting space into knots around it. Energy beams that could shred normal matter shot from its core, aimed directly at the thunder of Terra. "All power to forward shields," Marcus commanded. "Prepare the main gun." The massive human battleship's bow began to glow with gathered energy. This was the true power of humanity's secret weapon, a quantum cannon enhanced by Alliance crystal technology. The entities had never faced anything like it. "Crystal resonance at maximum," Tom reported from his science station. "The weapon is ready." Fire. A beam of pure quantum energy, amplified by crystal matrices, shot from the thunder of Terra. It struck the massive entity dead center, creating a cascade of reality warping effects. The entity's form began to unravel, its connection to normal space disrupted by the combined technologies. "It's working," Mike shouted. "Their reality anchor is failing." The entity tried to retreat, but the quantum crystal beam held it in place. Around it, other entities began to pull back, their confidence shaken by the sight of their strongest member being torn apart by forces they had never encountered. "All ships, focus fire," Marcus ordered. "Don't let them regroup." The entire fleet moved as one, human and Alliance vessels coordinating their attacks with perfect precision. Quantum beams and crystal energy struck the retreating entities, disrupting their ability to maintain their presence in normal space. "They're running," Kate announced, her crystal form glowing brightly with victory. "The attack pattern is breaking up." Through the bridge viewport, they watched as the entities began to withdraw. The tiers in reality they had used to enter this space were closing, sealed by the quantum crystal energy left in their wake. "Damage report," Marcus called out, though he kept his eyes on the tactical display. He wouldn't celebrate until he was sure. Alliance ships reporting minimal losses, Mike responded. Our combined shields held better than expected. The entities, they weren't ready for this level of resistance. The bridge crew watched as the last entity disappeared back toward the galactic core. The ancient defense systems pulsed one final time, then fell quiet. For the first time in millions of years, their warnings ceased. We did it, Tom said quietly, his crystal form still trembling from the battle's intensity. We actually drove them back. Marcus finally allowed himself a small smile. This was just the first wave, he reminded them. They'll be back, probably with new tactics. But now they know they can be hurt, and we'll be ready for them. The fleet regrouped around the thunder of Terra, human and Alliance ships flying side by side. What had started as a suspicious first contact had become something unprecedented. Two civilizations working together to achieve what neither could have done alone. Send word to Earth, Marcus ordered. Tell them Operation Daybreak was successful, and send the same message to the Alliance Council. He looked around at his mixed crew of humans and crystal beings. Tell them the galaxy has hope. As the messages were sent, the thunder of Terra's quantum drives hummed with power. In the distance, the galactic core glowed ominously. The entities would return, but they would find a galaxy united and prepared. Humanity's great secret was finally revealed. They had hidden their true nature not out of fear or deception, but to become the guardians the galaxy needed.